Now today I'd like to talk about a modification to a Leatherman Wave that I did a very long time ago. And the purpose of this was to create what I wanted to call a outdoorsman or woodsman's tool. But I thought I'd put a couple of fun, unique items in it that gave it a whole new, well, functionality. And that is a slingshot. So we're going to be talking about this and how it works. And maybe this will give you some ideas about modifying your own tools. Okay, so let's go through the tool set of what I created. First of all, starting with what I had at the initial onset. I bought a used Leatherman on eBay. So it's not like it's something that I could send in for warranty. When you buy something secondhand, you can't do that. And it wasn't in the nicest of shape. The primary blade was heavily damaged. The serrated blade was heavily damaged, as well as the plier tip. And I found that I had a way to save each of those three items. So that was the first thing I did. And it was worth it too, because the frame, the cutters themselves have never been used. The diamond file has a little spot rust, but it has never been used. So it really made sense. So the first thing I did with the straight blade was to make it into a chip knife or Wharncliffe style blade. So just giving a different kind of blade shape than you might be carrying with you if you were out in the woods. Say carrying a fixed blade like this one would be an example. So you'd have a different knife blade shape. That was the first thing, and I think that worked out okay. I think it could have done a little bit better, but I think it really worked. But the thing that I'm most proud of in this is I wanted to create, instead of having a reamer all inside the frame, I wanted to do it on the outside. And this was also a test of the Ken Onion blade grinder to see how well I could actually use it. And man, this is a really sharp chisel grind. I did a pretty good job, I gotta say. I'm pretty proud of myself. It even has a chisel on the tip. And the purpose, the idea here was that you would have the ability to drill an incredibly deep hole with a tapered dimension. So depending on how wide you wanted that hole, you could use this to actually drill that hole. So it does work. It's pretty awesome. And I gotta say, it's probably my favorite thing that I did in this tool. Even more so than what we're going to be talking about next. So going into the pliers, these pliers, I just kind of narrowed them a little bit. It just made them a little bit more precise. If you're in the outdoors, you're probably not, I don't know. It's hard to describe, but you might need to use them as tweezers. So what I did was I pulled them together and ground them on the Ken Onion blade grinder and brought them to a point that would allow you to potentially use as tweezers. So they're a little bit more precise than the original Leatherman Wave pliers. Now, we have a couple of tools that are not changed. So the scissor was one of them, but the scissor was the reason why everything had to happen the way it did from there. So the next thing I had to do was install these two items. So the first thing is the flathead, and I have changed this into a chisel, a wood chisel. So that's pretty straightforward, just kind of angled that tool. And then the last one is the modified can opener. So this was a can opener that I changed into 1/2 of a locking fork for a slingshot. That was the whole point, is to make a fork for a slingshot. I've tried it. I'm not the best shot, nor am I the best person for slingshots. However, this tool, and I'm very excited about this, is going to someone who is quite proficient at a slingshot, and I think is really just going to get so much more use out of it. This has been sitting in my collection for a while, and it's just cool to see it going to someone that actually can get some use out of it. So as you can see, what you'll do is you'll hold it like so, and that'll give you the two forks, and you can attach your bands, and these lock, and then they fold away when you don't need to be using a slingshot. But in order to get them to line up across from each other, I had to do something on this side. So the bit holder has to normally be on this opposite side. But I didn't like the fact that this was then over here, and then you'd have to kind of twist the handle. I wanted it to be directly across from each other. In order to do that, I had to cut this notch out of the bit holder so that it would sit and not hit that spring piece. That's actually what is needed in order for it to close properly. So now it does, and then we have our Slingshot. So that's pretty much it, except for the sheath. Now this is not the sheath that comes with a Leatherman Wave. This was actually discontinued. I don't know why, because these sheaths are phenomenal. And so I got these brand new when they were discontinued. And the cool thing about these sheaths is they expand to a truly ridiculous proportion. So you can fit so much gear into it. You can put, ferro rods on the side. You have slots on the back. And the cool thing about this is if you had, say, the bands on this tool, it's designed so that you can sit it open in your sheath, like you see there. And this hole was actually designed specifically for that purpose, so that it would go in a little bit deeper, and then you could open up the plier head like so, and you could fold it over. And then this way you didn't lose your tool, right? It would just sit inside the sheath. And that was the general concept of it. And what did I just do? Ah, there we go. So, but yeah, so you would let it sit. I guess it won't work very well if you have the implements locked, but yeah, it's designed so that you can still close your tool in the sheath while it's open. So I think this kind of matches the whole thing, and it just works. I'm just curious to see, though, what you guys think. I already have in my head what I want to do for my personal outdoorsman's tool. It's going to have a different set of functions that are perfect for the kinds of things I like to do in the outdoors. But I think, hopefully, the individual this is going to love it, and hopefully find ways to use it that I've never thought of. So I cannot be more excited to see this leaving my collection and going to someone who will hopefully get some use out of it. So this is pretty much it for today. We're just talking about this cool modification. We're going to be doing a lot more modding in the future. If anyone was wondering about that Leatherman, well, that's not it. The Leatherman Wave that we have worked on in the past, we will still be modding that one, and it will be given away. So we're doing a lot more modding in the near future, a lot. And that's going to be a lot of fun for me personally. That's actually why I got into this in the first place, was the enjoyment of changing things up. So this is an example of restoring a tool that was otherwise, well, would have been discarded maybe, I don't know, broken down for parts, but now is getting a second life. So I'm happy to see it going to a new home. And that's it for today. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for your time, and we'll talk again soon.